In this lesson, we'll start building our project by installing our first Laravel project and then creating Git repository for our project, then configuring the database setting and generating scaffold authentication. Alright, to start off, let's go ahead and open our terminal and create new Laravel project by typing Laravel new, and then the name will be Laravel-QA, or you can name it whatever you like. Hit return. This will install packages that Laravel depends upon, and it usually takes a second or so to install. Alright, after we've successfully created our new Laravel project, now let's change directory to it. So cd change directory, and I'll change to directory Laravel-QA. Then here we can create Git repo by firstly initialize the Git repository for this project. So git init. Next, we'll need to add all files in our project to something called staging area. Git add space dot. And lastly, commit all files to our repository. Git commit, specify a message, initial commit. Alright, we have a local Git repository for our project, and it will keep track all changes of our code. Now we can create remote repository for our project in hosting service providers such as github.com or bitbucket.org. So if you want to create private repository, then I suggest you to choose Bitbucket because it allows you to create unlimited public and private repositories for free. If you create private repository in GitHub, then you need to pay for $7 per month. For this course, we are gonna create public repo, so choosing GitHub is fine. Alright, let's switch over to our browser, and I'll enter github.com. Actually, I already have signed in here, so please sign in to your account. And if you don't have account for GitHub, then you simply register here. It's totally free. So here I can create a new repository by hitting this plus button. Then choose new repository. And here the repository name will be, let's say, Laravel-QA. Then I'll enter the description with, let's say, question and answer application built with Laravel 5. The repo will be public, and that's it. I'll hit the create repository. Okay, here my repository has been created, and here we can follow this instruction to push our local repo to this remote repository. Because we already have our repository, we'll follow this one. I'm gonna copy this one, which is basically add remote URL to our local repo. And I'll paste it here. And then I'm gonna copy this one and paste it here. If you have a prompt that asking you to enter your email and password, that's because you need to set up the SSH key in your GitHub account. So for now, just enter your email and password for your GitHub account, and later you can googling how to set up the SSH key. Here it pushed everything in the master branch, which is the default branch in local repo, to the origin, which refers to the remote repository. Now let's head over to our remote repository and refresh the page. Alright, here my local repository has been successfully pushed or uploaded to my remote repository. I hope you also successful pushing your repository to your remote repository in GitHub. Okay, great. Alright, the next thing we should do, since we are going to utilize Laravel Mix for asset compilation, so let's also install Node.js packages that needed by Laravel Mix. We can switch to our terminal and type npm install, hit return. Now, while npm downloading all dependency packages, because usually it takes some time, so let's do something else. Let's open new terminal, and here let's generate authentication scaffolding by typing php artisan make :auth, hit return. Alright, authentication scaffolding generated successfully. So basically this command will add a special route for authentication, generate a home controller, and generate views for authentication. Alright, now let's create a new MySQL database for our project. Here I'll do that using MySQL CLI client tool, but of course you can also use graphical user interface tools such as phpMyAdmin, SQL Pro, or other tools. So MySQL -u root. Here in my machine I have password for the root, so I'll specify -p and then -e. Probably it stands for execute, and the SQL command to be executed is create database lar_qa. Hit return, and I'll enter my password. Okay, great. So now that we have our new database, Laravel QA, now let's configure our database setting in .env file. So let's open our project in our editor. Here I'll be using Visual Studio Code. So code, alright, here let's open the .env file. First, let's change the DB database to Laravel_QA. Then the DB username would be root, and the password in my machine is 063. Save. And one last thing that I'll need to do before running the migrations, because currently when I'm recording this video, my SQL version in my machine is old, so I'll need to open config database, jump to MySQL, and here I'll remove the MB4 from charset and collation. So just UTF-8 and UTF-8 Unicode CI. So if I were not doing this, I would run into error, specified key was too long, when I run the migration. But as long as you are running MySQL version 5.7.7 or higher, or MariaDB above 10.2.2, then you don't need to do this stuff. Okay, let's go to our terminal and run the migration by typing php artisan migrate. So this is the error specify key was too long and I forgot to save this. Save. And here I need to refresh the migration. Refresh. Hit return. Alright, it created user stable and password reset stable. Now, if I switch to my first terminal, alright, the dependency packages that needed by Laravel Mix successfully installed. Just to make sure that the project is working fine, here in my terminal, I'll start the server by typing php artisan serve. Here in my browser, let me open localhost :8000. There we go, the Laravel welcome page is showing. Alright, I think that's enough for this lesson. But before we end this lesson, let's save our file changes to our Git repository. So let's switch over to our terminal. And here we can see the changes by typing git status. So these all files should be committed to our repository. Let's add all files, git add, and then commit all changes. Git commit and describe the changes. Generate auth scaffolding and install npm packages. And lastly, let's push our changes to our remote repository. Git push origin master. Okay, great! In the next lesson, we will create database schema as well as a model for our questions. So, I'll see you in a second.